What's up, guys? Cam from Evilkind here with some more action for your viewing entertainment. Let's dive right into it. Polyamory. Greek and Latin for many loves. Polyamory. The practice of or the desire for intimate relationships with more than one partner, typically with the informed consent of all partners involved. It has even been described as consensual, ethical, and responsible non-monogamy. To the average jolly poly, polyamory is a dream come true. It's having your cake and eating it too. The ideal next level form of partnership. They seem to believe that one person will never be enough to satisfy another on an emotional or sexual level. Variety is the spice to life. Monogamy is completely unnatural, and we all need to be free to do what and who we want, and that's just how the cookie crumbles. After just a cursory exploration of the subject, there were two terms that seemed to come up consistently: jealousy and compersion. I had no idea what compersion meant, but compersion is essentially analogous to the opposite of jealousy, technically defined as the feelings of joy a romantic partner derives from the pleasure a spouse, partner, or loved one finds in another romantic or sexual relationship outside of their own. So while the average partnered person would experience absolute horror and jealousy upon finding out their other half was romantically or sexually involved with someone else, polyamorites claim to feel joy and elation or levels of compersion knowing their partner is finding satisfaction with someone else or multiple others. That said, the reason these two terms are conjoined to the discussion of polyamory is that jealousy is inescapable in the polyamorous arrangement, while compersion is the idealistic goal. Human beings are naturally territorial and possessive, and while the so-called evolved polyamorite, supposedly sophisticated enough to see past antiquated modes of monogamy, professes joy and elation when it comes to knowing their partner is getting it good somewhere else, in every account or anecdote of polyamory I came across, they were all dealing with varying levels of jealousy at some point or another, and putting in excessive amounts of time to deal with these emotions and negotiate with all the parties involved. Polyamory and maneuvering through minefields of anger and jealousy go hand in hand. That's just the reality of it. But on the other side of that coin comes the hedonistic sexual lifestyle. Typically, the greatest draw to this scene is one's lust for sex and an inclination to make sexual, romantic, or emotional relationships the utmost priority and central to one's life. Meaning the primary source of life satisfaction comes solely from the thrill of the chase, the highs of new romance, or NRE, new romantic energy as they term it, and the subsequent dealings with all the partners involved, which is absolutely time-consuming and emotionally draining. In an article I found put out by Refinery29.com that detailed 3 real-life accounts of polyamory, a person named Marina reportedly stated, quote, "I have yet to see anyone pull it off without major doses of drama and bullshit and ego and pain. Harsh but true. Some poly relationships last a while, like my 5-year one, but in the end, in my experience, they all crash and burn. And when poly relationships crash and burn, it's exponentially more ugly because of the blurred lines and emotions involved. It's also a lot of work and overhead and takes a lot of time to maintain poly relationships effectively for any period of time. And that gets really tiring." End quote. Think about it. Making just one relationship work smoothly on an emotional level takes effort and dedication. These folks want to make it happen with as many people they can throw into the mix, which again takes ample time and effort. So everything else takes a backseat: their careers, their hobbies, major dreams and goals, artistic pursuits, even their children. Who's got time for any of that stuff when you're juggling 2, 3, 4 sexual/romantic partners? As one author wrote in the article, The Case Against Polyamory, quote, "Most people I've seen who've been able to pull off polyamory for more than 6 months consistently have been underemployed or unemployed." End quote. Personally, what I've noticed in real life is that women, and more specifically younger, attractive women, tend to be much more inclined to polyamory and non-monogamy than men, which obviously runs counterintuitive to the archetypal alpha male cheater or the archetypal married businessman cheating with the secretary scenario. Why is that? I'm sure you're already aware, but it is exponentially easier for the average woman to partner up sexually with another person, male or female, than it is for your average man. In this day and age of swiping and social media, women in their prime are able to attract sexual attention at the snap of a finger. It's so easy now, it borders on destructive, because with an ample and endless supply of potential prospects and suitors comes certain levels of arrogance, hubris, and discontent, because no man is ever good enough when the most interesting man in the world is right around the corner. When the average young lady in her 20s is inundated with messages from thirsty men on a daily basis from Tinder, Hinge, OkCupid, Instagram, or Snapchat, how could any of them settle for anything but the absolute best? The reality is that most don't, and in their mid to late 30s, they realize how many good guys they passed over who are no longer beating down their doors. I'm not trying to be cold or mean or accusatory or anything of the sort, and it doesn't always happen this way, but I've had these conversations with women, and this is all truth. In 2018, a study focused on relationship preferences performed by the Institute of Psychiatry, Psychology, and Neuroscience at King's College London found that women consistently scored higher in levels of openness to polyamory or ambyamory, or the willingness to be either monogamous or poly. Obviously totally in line with reality as we see it. And just on a very basic material level, again, it is so much easier for women to date around than men, because men are typically expected to pay for everything. It's so ingrained in our culture that I would even feel guilty if I were not to pay for dates, dinners, drinks, and my time with prospective romantic partners. Usually the girl just has to show up and enjoy the show. So for a man, at least a heterosexual man in this case, intent on cultivating multiple emotional / sexual / romantic partnerships with a variety of women, a hefty investment of time and money would be required. Would that be the most ideal use of any man's time and precious resources? Only if sex, sexual gratification, and validation from the opposite sex is at the forefront of one's list of priorities. If one is looking to raise children, put them through college, build a legacy, contribute to one's community, the polyamorous arrangement would obviously not be the ideal place to devote one's time and resources. But other questions still remain. Is polyamory moral or immoral? Is polyamory good or evil? Obviously, we all know what the polyamorite would say. Clearly to them, at least, while enjoying the fruits of polyamory, it is something that is good, moral, and not evil, completely natural to our biology. But again, how does one define evil? Technically, evil is that which is profoundly immoral or wicked. But where does the moral standard lie? Is morality universal or relative? Like it or not, and most people don't give a bleep one way or the other, but moral relativity seems to be the norm. Most moral determinations these days are based on how one feels or what one feels entitled to. Coincidentally, as I was putting this piece together, the big news this week was Brad Pitt's new girlfriend, German model Nicole Poturalski. She's 27 and currently married to someone else, a 68-year-old restaurateur she exists in an open marriage with. So this entire arrangement, this love triangle, is all about personal desire, personal entitlement, sex, and what intuitively feels right to each member of this union. Every aspect of it is completely transactional. Are 27-year-old models typically attracted to 68-year-old men on a physical or sexual level? The answer is no, they're not. This marital arrangement, which includes the option to date and have sex with anyone she wants, is bringing some level of material gain to her while bringing him, her husband, unfettered sexual access to her. Brad Pitt, the quintessential alpha male still very much involved in the chase and acquisition of younger women, is likely in it for one, the sexual conquest, and two, the passion of NRE, or new relationship energy. At 56 years old, he is also clearly wholly disinterested in the prospect of settling down with one woman, because if there's any man out there who could get any woman he wanted, even at 56, it's Brad Pitt. And if he wanted to find a sexy ingenue to settle down with, he could have chosen an equally vivacious, personable, and sexy young model who wasn't already married. I've said this before about alpha males, they rarely ever settle down with one woman in a stable long-term union, if ever. In fact, because Pitt has had access to so many women on a continuous basis, he's likely never developed any concrete relationship building skills that would allow him to sustain a long-term monogamous relationship. Is he not currently embroiled in a very contentious and ongoing divorce with Angelina Jolie? And let's not forget, Jolie was someone he met and cheated with while he was with Jennifer Aniston. I believe those are the facts surrounding his love life. If I got it wrong, don't hold it against me. It's not like I care, I'm just making a few points. But in terms of this polyamorous triangle, which includes Pitt the model and her elderly husband, the focal point of the entire arrangement is sex, sexual attraction, and sexual gratification, period. And again, on a transactional basis, everyone is getting sex in exchange for something else. Now back to the question of good or evil. Obviously, there has to be some universal standard to make a clear delineation. Christians would defer to the Bible. I personally would defer to the Bible, but most people have no interest in Christianity and believe it to be bigoted, antiquated, obsolete, and just plain false in nature. So for now, let's just bypass the biblical standard and look to the fruit. I think we can all agree that anything in life can be understood to be good or bad, good or evil, based on the fruit it produces. When it comes to polyamory, what is there to gain beyond sexual gratification with multiple sexual partners? Is one able to achieve relationship stability? No. Loyalty in union? Absolutely not. A partner they can count on in times of crisis or sickness or some other type of negative, unexpected life event. If you were to lose your job or suffer some debilitating accident or come down with cancer, could you expect your polyamorous partner or partners, driven by a need for frenetic sexual activity and a hedonistic sexual lust, to stand by your side through thick and thin? Wouldn't that just put a damper on the sexual needs and desires of the collective? If you can't provide sex or emotional joy or pleasure to the polyamorous collective, what is your purpose then? You have no purpose. So they would not stand by you through thick and thin, in sickness and in health. If Brad Pitt's girlfriend's husband was not a wealthy, well-known restaurateur and socialite, but just a penniless, elderly man, would she have married him? Of course not. Their love is conditional. Look, I get it. When you're young, vibrant, hot, not focused on raising kids, free of real responsibility, you've got options just to swipe away and suitors are falling at your feet. Non-monogamy / polyamory is most likely right up your alley. Or maybe you've been drifting through a marriage that's lost its luster, where one or both parties have totally let themselves go, have given up exuding sexual energy, building attraction, or gaming the other. I can see how introducing new sexual partners to the mix would probably seem exciting and appealing in the moment. But everything about the polyamorous arrangement is conditional, temporary, and destined to fail. Jolly Polys profess that monogamy is unnatural, but the anecdotal evidence does not support that. People fall in love, click with each other, enjoy higher levels of emotional and sexual compatibility, and connect on cosmic levels all the time, but that doesn't come around too often, and it's really hard to find. Most people are totally incompatible, and it takes time and effort to move past the physical attraction to find the one you can devote yourself to. The sex-driven polyamorite has no patience for that and wants to believe they can find love and enjoy deep emotional connections over and over and over again with one person after the other with absolutely no consequence. Go give that a shot. See what happens. See how that plays out over the course of your life and where you end up. Divorce rates have spiked all over the world during this pandemic because lockdowns have exposed the fact that most couples cannot stand each other. But the jolly poly, thirsty for sex, fresh partner sex, group sex and orgies, party drug sex, dirty sex, forbidden sex, after party sex, whatever type of sex you can think of. I don't even know, but you get my point. These folks look out into the world with rose-colored glasses thinking love is everywhere and they can have it all. But in the end, polyamory only brings jealousy, selfishness, instant sexual gratification at the expense of long-term goals and achievements, disloyalty, confrontation, emotional turbulence, a complete and utter lack of relationship stability, and ultimately chaos to the equation. You can go read about all the drama for yourself. It's there and a given in the world of polyamory. So in my estimation, in our determination, the ruling is unequivocally that polyamory is evil. Okay guys, let's take a minute to like, share, subscribe, and comment, please. Whether you can see it or not, Evilkind is a force for good in this world, and we need your help and support to push forward with our mission to entertain you, to guide you in the right direction, and supply you with cool, killer, kick-ass retail products. Please check out our shop at evilkind.com. Watch our movie Life at evilkind.com at absolutely no cost to you. And be chill, be cool, and be kind. Once again, I'm Cam from Evilkind, aka Camstar1322 on the gram. And until next time.